Alright, now that we've got this image open in Photoshop and we know how to pan around, zoom in, zoom out, and all that good stuff, let's do something to this image. And we're going to go into a lot of detail about these techniques and as far as how they work and why they work the way they do later on in the quarter, but for today let's just have fun. So what I'm going to do is just go up here to Image, Adjustments, and I'm going to start playing with some of these choices here, and you'll see what they can do. The first one to show you is Hue Saturation. So Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation. Command U is the shortcut. And it pulls up this nice looking box here. And so just go ahead and mess around with it. Don't worry about why it's doing what it does or whatever. Just I'm moving the hue slider around and it's changing all the colors in the image here. Okay. The saturation slider controls the amount of the intensity of the color. So when I crank it all the way to the left, it just turns it into a grayscale. And when I crank it to the right, it gives me that really super fluorescent color. Lightness just changes the overall value of the image. If I go all the way to the right, it's totally white. If I go all the way to the left, it's totally black. I'm not going to do too much with that. And okay. So you can see right away that I've been able to make a really big change to my image just by that simple Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation. Now, before I go any further, what I want to show you guys is a very important technique that will save you a lot of time and grief down the road. It's called the Undo button. Edit, Undo. And if it doesn't work like it just did for me, keep doing this. You want to keep stepping backwards right here. It's grayed out for me because I only have one step. Just keep going, hitting step backwards until you get back to your original image. And now I want to direct your attention over here to the Layers palette. You're going to be spending a lot of time over here. The Layers palette is going to be your best Photoshop friend. So right now I only have one layer. You can see by the thumbnail here, it's this photograph. And it's called Background. It's in italics, and it has this lock. So one of the things you'll realize right away is I can't turn it on and off, which is kind of tedious. So the first thing I want you to do is change the name of this layer. And when we change the name of the layer, you'll notice that this will no longer be in italics and this lock will be gone. So by default, whenever you open up a photograph or another image in Photoshop, it locks it in this background mode. And really that sucks, so we don't want that. So double click on the image, or I'm sorry, double click on the layer here where it says background, and it gives you this prompt. What do you want to call it? You know what, let's just call it layer 0, hit OK, and now the lock is gone, and now you'll notice I can turn this layer on and off. And when I turn the layer off by clicking the eyeball, you see this Ralston Purina cat chow checkerboard back here. That means transparency. That means there's there's nothing here. It's not white. It would just print to the color of the paper if we printed it out. More on that later. That'll become more important as we move on. But now I've got this nice layer that I can manipulate, and the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate the layer. One of the best ways to do that is just by right-clicking or control-clicking on the layer and choosing Duplicate Layer. That name looks fine, and now I've got two copies of exactly the same thing. If I turn the top layer off, nothing changes because it's exactly the same. If I turn them both off, I'm back to my transparent grid back there. So now I've got two layers. I'm going to go to the top layer, and the active layer is the layer that is blue. That's the selected layer. And now I'm going to do that same adjustment. Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, or Command U. I'm going to go ahead and crank this around, play with these, yay, hooray, and I'm going to hit OK. And this is the key to the digital process, is to always give yourself choices whenever you can. So I can either turn that layer off and go back to my original, or I can go to the new one. And this, I can just do this process. As simple as this looks, this is one of the biggest techniques we have, is just check and see which one you like better. You know, see if it's going in an interesting direction or not. So right now I like this, so I'm going to just leave it like this. But if for some reason I wanted to use my other original layer here, I've got it, and I can make a copy of it, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second.